Hey everybody, welcome back to Game Time. John Eads with you. As always, be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're on YouTube, if you haven't already, or you can find our episodes on the website here. Download the 9 News app, all of those places. Be sure to follow me on social media. I'll be covering the games this weekend from home, tweeting during the game, all that good stuff. It's at John Eads WAFB on the X app and Instagram, and I'll be posting cut-ups from this show on there as well. So if you miss it, or if you want to watch just 20 or 30 seconds of it, that's a good way to do that. Big show today. We got 4 more topics, as we always do. 3 of them LSU, and then we'll finish up with Saints, kind of talk about the offense, preview the Patriots game. As far as LSU goes, I want to talk about why the offense has improved, if the defense can improve at all, and then we'll preview another top 25 game for LSU, this time against Missouri. Should be a really good one coming up at 11 o'clock on Saturday. So let's get right into it. So I want to start with the positive, and I feel like the one and only positive of the LSU football team this year has been the offense. Very improved from last season, although last year they were still really solid. They averaged 34.5 points per game one season ago, and in the games where the offense needed to produce, they certainly did that in like the Alabama game and ones like that, Ole Miss as well, last year, not this year. So why is the offense better this season? What has led to the improvements? Is it positional players? Is it position units? Is it the scheme? Well, I think it's a mix of a lot of different things. You have a lot of veterans coming back from last year's team, and then you added some pieces in via the transfer portal that had started before. So something Brian Kelly talked about in his press conference this week was the fact that the offense has a lot more experience than the defense. He said that every guy on the offense that starts has started before coming into this season, whether it be, a spot start here and there or they started at their previous school. You get the picture. But what specifically has led to this explosion that we've seen so far this season that we hope will continue? Well, let's start with the wide receiver unit, because I think it's been the passing game that has really been surprising for me. And a guy that we've talked about many times, you should have this name in the back of your head. Brian Thomas, he has been massive this year for LSU. At times, I want to call him wide receiver 2, but there's been instances this year, I think he's led the Tigers in receiving in 3 of the 5 games so far, if I'm not mistaken. At least he's been right there with Malik Neighbors, Batman and Robin. Who's Batman, who's Robin? I'll leave that up to you. But those two have been excellent. For Thomas, the difference has been he's living up to that high billing he had coming out of high school. He was a borderline 5-star recruit, but at least a very high 4-star, and those guys are supposed to have great college careers and go on and have an NFL career as well, and he's certainly trending in that direction right now. He hadn't topped 400 receiving yards in any of the prior 2 seasons he'd played at LSU, and he'd get maybe 2 catches a game for 30 yards. Like, he wouldn't really be that big of a factor in the offense, but he has been this year. 5 or more catches in every game. He's had 3 different 100-yard receiving games, and he's got 8 touchdowns this season, already more than he had last year. For his career, he's got 12, so he's on pace to surpass all of his numbers combined between 2021 and 2022 in one season. So he's really stepped up for this unit, and I think just allowed Jaden Daniels and really the whole passing offense structure to have that downfield threat that I think they lacked last year. So Brian Thomas has been a big difference maker. And then I think Malik Neighbors has just added more to his toolbox as well. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. He's already got 40 catches for over 600 yards, and we're not even halfway through the season. So he's on pace to surpass all of that this year. And I think it's because he's shown more of an ability, maybe it's because he's had more opportunity, to win one-on-one balls, to go up, use his hand-eye coordination, his athleticism to come down with those 50-50 balls that he really turns into 100-0, because Malik Neighbors more often than not comes down with those available footballs, and those jump balls like that. And he really reminds me a lot of Jamar Chase, a guy that can catch a pass anywhere on the field, and if he gets into open space, can take it the distance. Maybe it's an unfair comparison because both guys are really talented. They should be talked about in their own respects. But the type of receiver he is, just immediately I think of Jamar Chase. He'll catch a 10-yard route to convert on a 3rd down and move the sticks. The same way he'll also burn a corner for a 70-yard fly route down the sideline. And it just takes a good quarterback to unlock all of that. And, well, they have one this year in Jaden Daniels. Now, as far as the running backs go, it's been one running back really all year. It's Logan Diggs. I said in the offseason, I compared last year's running back room to the snack drawer. Remember, with the chips? But too many snacks is a bad thing, if you're trying to have a good diet. So pick one running back and roll him. Stick with him all year long. And Logan Diggs has been that guy. Last year, LSU's leading rusher was actually Jaden Daniels, who gained over 1,100 yards. Now, net yardage was at 885, still really good. This year, Diggs leading the team in rushing on 57 carries. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry. Mind you, he missed a game and a half or so at the beginning of the season there. Didn't play against Florida State, didn't play much against Grambling State, and has 3 touchdowns. Last year, remember, it was a 3-man rotation. Emory, Williams, Kane. This year, it's all been Logan Diggs, and he is the full package back. So that's been a big difference as well. So really, it's Jaden Daniels having more weapons at his disposal, I think. Like, he's always had the ability to throw that deep ball. We saw it in the Arizona State-Oregon game. I remember watching that game in 2019 when Arizona State upset Justin Herbert and the Ducks. They clinched that win with a Jaden Daniels deep ball, and he had Brandon Ayuk, NFL receiver, Frank Darby, NFL receiver, and then Eno Benjamin, a running back, who also made it to the NFL on that Arizona State team. So he's now got more of that talent combined with a more aggressive schematic approach. That's why we're seeing this offense produce like it is. And real quickly, that offensive line deserves some love as well. Last year, they had a lot of different combinations early in the year. They had some injuries as well. It's been the same 5 for the most part this year. They've got some depth as well, and they've avoided those injuries, knock on wood, so far this season. And so far this year, they've allowed just 12 sacks versus 45 all of last year. So at that pace, they'll probably be around 30, if I had to guess, if LSU plays 7 or 8 more games. But they've been really good. They've protected well, and they've allowed this offense to play the way they have. And this LSU offense, I've said it before, I'll say it again, will give the Tigers an opportunity to win every game this year. The question is, can they get more from that defense? But that's why this unit is so much better. And really, again, they didn't have to improve that much. I mean, last year was solid, but this is why LSU is elite this year. All of those reasons right there. So that turns us over to the defensive side of the ball, because with the offense LSU has right now, they are one of the best in the country, passing, rushing, efficiency, everything. Every offensive statistic you could really think of, LSU's got it. The problem, their defense has not lived up to its end of the bargain. We got a scale here. You think of that loss scale where it's a perfect balance, those 2 cups, you know what I'm talking about? It's not really even right now because the offense is putting in the work. The defense, not so much. I mean, if you tell me LSU scores 49 points in a football game and gets 600 or more yards, they should win 99% of those games. But I don't think that's the case this year. So can this defense get better? I mean, they were atrocious in Oxford against Ole Miss, missing tackles, missing assignments. Rare that they got to stop. Can it be fixed? Can it get better? Because if it can get better, then this team can accomplish all the things that we kind of all thought they could this year. I mean, we expected this team to be elite, and it wasn't a mirage. They've got the talent. They had the returning production. Those 2 things are critical. They had the coaching stability. All of that baked into the same cake. That's a cake. That's an SEC championship team, potentially. But we haven't seen that this year, and I think it's because of that defense. So my answer here is yes, I think it can be fixed. Think about that meme of that, I don't know what it is, like a jukebox on the sidewalk with the Post-it note on it. Broken, but could be fun to fix, that kind of thing. I think this is a matter of restarting the system, like turning it off and back on again when you think something's broken. I think that's all it is. Like, all the things that LSU struggled with in that loss to Ole Miss are all things that could be fixed in 1 week. You know, knowing what coverage you're in, that's just simple communication. Making a tackle, that's all effort. And I mean, think about Ole Miss. They run that fast-paced, up-tempo offense. Yes, LSU should be in shape. Yes, they should be prepared for that physically. I mean, you practice in 100-degree heat every day here in the summer, but they weren't. You won't really see that against Missouri, nor will you see it much throughout the year because not many teams spend like less than 30 seconds of real time in between plays like Lane Kiffin's teams do. We did the film review on Tuesday's episode. Check it out if you missed it. And I showed you guys 2 different plays where Ole Miss scored touchdowns. And it wasn't like it was, just better athletes, better personnel. Some of it was schematics. Some of it was Lane Kiffin calling up great plays, having excellent play design. But other parts of it were just communication, where guys were put in positions to fail based on how the defense was aligned, and they didn't know the coverage. In LaTerrence Welsh's case, like, he thought it was zone coverage when in reality it was man-to-man. His guy that he was supposed to be covering catches a touchdown. Like, that can be fixed during the week. Like, you can change up your signals. You can just let him know that, hey, you got to know when it's man-to-man, when it's zone, and we're going to show you where you went wrong. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's got to grow 4 inches in a week, and it's an athleticism problem. No, it's a mental thing. It's a communication thing. Okay, so that's kind of what needs to be fixed this week. But here's what needs to be fixed from a personnel standpoint. They got to find an answer at inside linebacker. Omar Speights is not it, whether it be because he's injured or he just can't keep up with SEC play. I think we can all agree that Whit Weeks has looked like the guy at inside linebacker. Number 40, he's got speed, he's tough, he's just less of a risk. You kind of know what you're getting with Weeks. And I've tried to ask Coach Kelly why he doesn't play more, haven't really gotten an answer, and I'm not there every day at practice, so I can only go based on what I see at the games, but I think Whit Weeks has to play more at inside linebacker in this game. We'll see if he does. And then I talked about this on Tuesday as well, what's wrong with the defense. I still don't think Harold Perkins is getting enough opportunities to rush the passer and just be a game wrecker. This guy's got speed that nobody else has on the defense. Maybe nobody else even has on the field. He probably is one of the fastest guys on the football field amongst all the 200 or so players that are on the sideline, in the game, whatever. You got to use that to your advantage a little bit more, I think. I don't want to see him dropping into cover 2. I'm sure he can do it, but use him to the best of his abilities. And his best attributes are just being a guy that's going to wreck a play, rush off the edge, get a sack, get a TFL, and just not even let that pass get off. I think we got to see more of that in this game and really the rest of the season. I mean, think about what he did last year. They beat Alabama. Perkins spied Bryce Young, and good things happen. You get pressure on the quarterback with this defense, good things happen. I mean, that's the answer for these guys. And when you think about Harold Perkins, you think about pressure. So I think they got to use him more in that regard. So, look, there's certainly a cap on what this defense can do. That's what happens when you take guys out of the transfer portal. Some will work, Logan Diggs on the offensive side. Some won't, like Ovie Oghoufo from Texas. Haven't seen anything from him. I've been very underwhelmed. Deuce Chestnut, haven't seen him play much since the Arkansas game. He didn't even make the trip to Ole Miss. Now, I'm going to ask about why he's not even traveling or playing today when I can at Brian Kelly's press conference, but you just don't have the guys at some positions. They don't have the corners. They don't have the linebackers. And if you don't have the guys, you got to rely on what you do have. And what they do have is not very good. So, again, I think pressure is the key. You just got to find a way to get the best result out of the guys that you have on the field. So we'll see what changes this week going into Missouri. I think a lot of it is fixable, so they certainly can be a serviceable defense. We're just looking for top 75. All right, we'll set the bar pretty low. Right now, we're in the hundreds. We're amongst one of the worst defenses in college football. So can we get up to top 75 if we're LSU? That's kind of what we're asking for here, because if they can complement this offense at all, this is a pretty good football team. So let's see what adjustments they make against Missouri. This is an offense that loves to take advantage of defenses that make mistakes. I'll talk about that more in a second. We'll see what changes, if anything, in Como. All right, let's get into that game in Como and get into our preview and prediction for this LSU-Missouri game. So, should be a really good one. Back-to-back top 25 battles for the Tigers, and Missouri's off to a 5-0 start. Not many people had that coming into the season. I did. You see all the check marks there? Bang, 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 bang. They're off to a really hot start. They've played some great football, and they beat 3 good teams. Well, they beat 2 good teams out of the last 3 games, Kansas State and Memphis, and they recently beat Vanderbilt. So, look, they're really solid. I really went back and forth on who to pick for this game, and here's why. They got a really, really efficient and fundamental offense. They score over 30 points per game, and their last 3 games against the teams I just mentioned, 34 points per game. So they're producing, and it's not like they ate up on cupcake teams like they played South Dakota State and Middle Tennessee State. No, I mean, they've played well against the good teams, against the better defenses there. And they love to pass the ball. Top 10 in the country in passing offense, averaging 324 passing yards per game. And Brady Cook, the quarterback, completes at about a 75% rate. So it's not like they go air raid and throw it 60 times and maybe complete 30. No, it's not like that at all. When they pass, they do so well. They also have a solid run game. They don't use it much, but they use it effectively. So they run the ball for about 130 yards per game just to get those short yardage situations and set up more favorable second and third downs. What's interesting, though, is that they run the ball 53% of the time and pass it 47% of the time. Yet they average over 300 passing yards per game, which is interesting. So they're very balanced. That's the point there. So they don't necessarily rely on one way or the other to produce. Again, they got a great quarterback there, Brady Cook. He can sling it. He hasn't thrown an interception all season, so he's not a guy that'll make mistakes. The offensive line in front of him, we talk about mistakes, doesn't really give him the opportunity to make mistakes. They've only allowed 9 sacks all year, and I've said it before, when LSU loses, usually it's because they can't get pressure, and they had 0 sacks. So we'll see if they can, turn up that pressure, make Brady Cook uncomfortable a little bit. As for that running game, they got a 1-2 punch. Guy named Schrader, who is really solid. He'll give you 5 or 6 yards per carry. You can also bust out a long one as well if you allow him to, and LSU has with that missed tackle problems. And then Nathaniel Pete, a Stanford transfer. He's a physical runner as well. And then at wide receiver, 3 really good options. They got Luther Burden, a former 5-star that they got at Missouri, an in-state guy, Theo Weiss, and Mookie Cooper. Burden's really the guy to know. He'll catch a pass anywhere on the field. He's got an insane ability to change his speeds. Like, he'll go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. This guy is quick. You leave him open in open space, he will delete that space and get to the end zone. So what I think this game hinges on is a dual-threat quarterback. Cook is not a dual threat. He ran for like 400 yards last year, but he hasn't run it much this year. If he has, he hasn't done it successfully. He's got 37 rush yards. Probably factors in sacks, but I watched 2 of his games, and he didn't run much at all. And we know LSU's defense struggles against dual-threat quarterbacks. So now you've got more of an opportunity to get pressure and make him uncomfortable. And so far this season, when they've played pocket passers, things have been better. So we'll see if that makes a bit of a difference. Here's the key for LSU's defense. Get Missouri to third down, and then get off the field when that happens, because they're converting on just 35% of their third downs. That's not good. I think that ranked amongst like the 70s and 80s amongst college football teams, so that's down there. And in their last 3 games, again, against Kansas State, Memphis, Vanderbilt, all solid teams, just 27%. But with that said, they don't go to third down very much. They are top 10 in the country for the least amount of third down situations at just 11.5. So when you do get them to third down, got to get off the field. As for the offense, Missouri's got a solid defense, number 36 in the country in total defense. And what's interesting is that their passing defense is what people look to as being something that's not very good. LSU is in the hundreds for passing defense, as is Missouri. Here's the difference, though. Missouri allows just about 11 yards per pass, so not many big plays. LSU has allowed about 14 yards per passing play. So, yes, they're 2 bad passing defenses, but they're not the same. LSU gives up the big plays, Missouri not so much, and that's how LSU likes to move the football as well. And then lastly, Missouri's run defense has been really good this year. They've held opponents under 3 yards per carry. So, the Tigers like to use Logan Diggs and Jaden Daniels to move the football. I'll say this, they haven't seen a dual-threat quarterback yet like Jaden Daniels, so, we could have some plates colliding here, tectonic plates, and one of them's got to cave, the other one's got to rise, right? So I think that Jaden Daniels will present a different element that this Missouri defense hasn't seen yet before this season. So look, 11 a.m. kick on ESPN. Super tough game to pick. LSU's favored by 4.5 on the road. I think I got to go with Missouri, though, because this offense is dialed in. Brady Cook is on the same page with his receivers, and watching the film, I saw Memphis, I saw Kansas State have coverage busts, and Missouri took full advantage. So I've got more faith in Missouri to produce than in LSU's defense to clean up the problems we saw last week. Plus, they're at home. They've already upset a number 15 team at home this season in Kansas State. So I'm rolling with Missouri here. LSU lost the last time they played out in Como. And I just think there's too many question marks with this team right now. Yes, the offense is great. They haven't seen the defense like this since Florida State. And Florida State contained this LSU offense enough to win the game. And, of course, the defense didn't pick up the slack. So give me Missouri to win this game as the underdog. Don't even need the points. And it's a darn shame because this was a game I had LSU winning coming into the season, but after seeing them play for a couple of weeks, there's just too many unknowns for me, and that's where we're at. All right, let's finish up with the Saints. They got a game against New England at noon on Sunday. It's on WAFB, so check out our channel at 12 if you want to watch the Hoodats play. So 2-2, should be 3-1. We won't go there. Third straight loss to the Buccaneers. That was a 26-9 decision last weekend. And really just a rough game to watch. You kicked 3 field goals. You had some unfortunate situations, like you picked off Baker Mayfield at the 1, even though the guy fell into the end zone, and then you turn it over and they immediately score. So really weird game. A lot of people are panicking with this offense because you spent a lot of resources on Derek Carr to come in and make this offense better. And, you know, they haven't really lived up to the lofty expectations that come with those dollar signs so far. But I'm saying you shouldn't panic. And here's why. Of course, Alvin Kamara missed the first chunk of the season there. And this past weekend was his first game back. And I thought he played very well individually. And this offense will just get better as the weeks go by, as he gets to practice more and as they play more with getting that chemistry, with the play calling, with what works, with what doesn't work. In this Buccaneers game specifically, I think they had way too many third downs, and that's something they'll have to avoid moving forward. 14 third down situations for New Orleans in this game, and they only converted on 5 of them, and these were mostly third and medium, third and long situations, which just don't favor this New Orleans team, really, especially with a quarterback who's nursing a shoulder injury. You missed Juwan Johnson as well. That's something else. Juwan Johnson didn't play in this game. He's a tight end. You may not be too familiar with him, but I think he's the X factor for this Saints offense at tight end, because on those third and medium situations, you want to have that tight end that can fake the block for the run, go out and catch a pass. They didn't have that. And who's the tight end behind Juwan Johnson? Jimmy Graham? Foster Moreau? Moreau didn't even play in this game. And Jimmy Graham, he can't do the things that Juwan Johnson does. This guy's a former wide receiver, extremely athletic. So hopefully they get him back. He just allows this offense to do more things than it can without him. And I think that was pertinent and obvious in this game. Also, the run game's got to get going more. Like, I understand why it wasn't the first couple weeks of the season because you didn't have Kamara, but you only had 70 yards on the ground on 19 carries. That's below 4 yards per carry. I think Kamara needs more handoffs. He had 11 touches for 51 yards in that regard, so definitely your most efficient runner in this game. Why not give him the ball more? He had 13 receptions too, but I think Kamara needs more handoffs, especially on 3rd and 5. Give him a try, you know? So we'll see if that changes moving forward. Again, you know, him coming back, being on the sideline in uniform, able to play, you'll get better as the weeks go by on what plays to call in what situations, and Kamara allows you to run and call a lot of different plays. Plus, you got to take better care of the football. You had 3 turnovers in this game, 2 fumbles and a pick, and they all came at a time where the game was kind of already out of hand. The late fumble there that led to that touchdown in the first half after that interception, that one was a backbreaker for sure. But the fumble at the end of the game that led to the Bucs field goal to make it 26-9, I mean, whatever. I mean, don't want to do it, but obviously can't have it. But it didn't impact the game that much, and then Jameis Winston throws a pick. And that fumble that led to that touchdown at the end of the first half, again, the guy intercepted the ball, New Orleans corner, and it got called down at the 1-yard line. I mean, that's just a tough spot to be in. That really changed the game. So I think that was just an unfortunate situation. Like, how rare is that you pick the ball off and instead of it being a touchback, you're down to the 1, right? The offensive line continues to struggle. It's kind of just a laundry list of why the offense is bad. They allowed 3 more sacks. So they've got to continue to play better. I talked about Kamara needing more rushing touches. And Chris Olave was shut down against Tampa Bay, and it was obvious. He had 1 catch for 4 yards. He's yet to score a touchdown this season. You need more from Chris Olave. He had an opportunity for a touchdown, but he dropped it. So that's also holding this offense back. But, look, you still got the pieces. Olave, we've seen it before. Last year, he turned it on, right? He really broke out in the second half of the season. So he has it within him to do it. Now they've just got to find a way to replicate that from last year. And then the final point I have perhaps is the biggest point. You got to finish drives. If this offense was scoring touchdowns right now and not kicking field goals, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. New Orleans is 26th in the NFL right now out of 32 teams in points per game at 15.5, I think it is, which is not good. So in this game against Tampa Bay, they had 3 different drives that were long but ended in field goals. 11 plays, 56 yards, you kicked a field goal. 12 plays, 57 yards, again, you kicked a field goal. 14 plays for 49 yards, another field goal. Those have to be touchdowns. You've got to finish drives. When you go for 10-plus plays and you've got the defense on its heels, you got to find a way to put that ball in the end zone. I think that's one of the biggest differences if they can begin to do that we'll see with this offense. So, look, don't panic. Carr wasn't 100% in this game. Kamara's first game back. Tampa Bay is a really solid team, too. Let's not forget about that. We got to give them some credit. You've got all your pieces. We need Juwan Johnson back at tight end. I think this offense can certainly produce and do the things that it hoped it could do when it doled out a ton of money to bring in Derek Carr. So let's see what happens against New England. They got a solid defense, but they have some guys dealing with injuries, so there might be some opportunities for this offense to produce. And if they get going, this team can accomplish what we thought they would, which is winning the division and perhaps competing for a conference championship as well. So let's see what they do in New England. I don't think it's time to panic, though, with this Saints offense. All right, that does it. That just absolutely flew by. Thanks for tuning in. As I said, I think Missouri takes down LSU, but it should be a great game, a lot of offense. I think LSU has the ability to win the game, but, I'm trying to give you a credible prediction based on what I know, and what I know is more about Missouri than LSU right now. Too many unknowns, as I said. And the Saints, again, 12 o'clock kick on WAFB, so check it out. Definitely need a win there if you're New Orleans to get back on the right track. Thanks for watching. Again, follow my social media pages at John Eads, WAFB on the X app and Instagram. And like and subscribe if you're here on YouTube. Be back next week with more recaps, reactions, predictions, all that good stuff. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you all next week.